it's just been like, I don't know, very interesting to see kind of the path that you've taken and the stuff that you have like learned more about, and just the work that you're doing now with the youth is so incredible. But like, how are you doing? How are you feeling today?
A lot has been done for this morning, so I'll just give a bit of background. Like with the work I'm doing, the organization I work for, we have a camp coming up for the kids, and the camp is basically in less than a week. So there's a bunch of preparation that has to get done, but then you also have to deal with drama that's going on and people who can't do this and who can do this but can't fulfill certain duties. So it's trying to keep everything together. So right now it's kind of a crazy space. If you see the office, which thank God it's a podcast, I don't have to show, but it's things are all over the place. But it's fun and
Yeah.
exciting, and I love it. So
Yeah, that sounds so interesting. Where is it like you guys are going into the theoretical like woods for this camp, or is it like a specific location that this happens and it's more of like a boot camp type of event?
yeah, it's more like a boot camp kind of. So
Okay.
it's the camp is called BVAC camp, and in I guess other countries as well, in other militaries, you have a BVAC camp, or even in other countries, it may not be called a BVAC camp, but it's definitely related to the activities that we do. And this
Mm.
camp is kind of a promotion camp, so it will determine whether the person we will be going to the next rank in our program, yes or not. Right? So we aren't going
Interesting.
necessarily in the woods,
Okay.
but we will be in a remote location um, on the camp, but it's not
Super
necessarily the
cool.
woods.
Is
So
it like a bunch of survival and like personal development and leadership specific type of tasks, or is there like also components of more like, like mental health, like working through your emotions as well, and like I guess having clarity so that you can operate in these more like high stress situations?
it's a mix of both. Reason being is that the younger ones have more physical tasks to do. They have a lot of
Mm.
orders that they have to follow, but the ones who are in higher positions, they have a lot more responsibilities that are given to them, and they kind of have to make sure that they take the right decisions at the right time, with
Okay.
the including all of the other opinions that are being thrown at them,
Yeah.
or maybe like they might get like a wrench thrown in, like, okay, now you do not have this available to you, how are you going to proceed? And they kind of it's they have to make their own decisions, obviously with the supervision of coaches and staff, but they you know they have to lead the group. They're becoming leaders. So
Yeah. That's such an interesting like program. I feel like stuff like that is so good and so much fun when you're like really young, cuz like when it's like all the bonding, right, with your peers, but it's also just like you're really getting to work on yourself. And these are things that I feel like translate like through your whole life. But I'm curious like what got you even into this organization, or even like passionate about this type of work? Was it something that you knew you were going to get into, or is it something that you just found, when you came home to the island and was trying to figure life out, all that all that jazz?
yeah, it's definitely like this definitely wasn't on the menu or on the schedule, however you want to put it. But my background is biology and chemistry. And then yeah, I came back 2019. I was doing a lot of volunteering, and then I ended up working because I couldn't find a job in my field. And like many
Hmm.
of us who come back home, maybe you hear it time and time again, but we always have the difficulty of finding a job. And that's why most people just, stay in other countries, because they have opportunities. St. Martin is not as easy to find, these opportunities. So yeah, it
Yeah.
was difficult. It was super difficult in the beginning. But I started working for a yachting agency, and I was doing that for a while. It was really fun. I mean, you make a lot of money, really fun, but it's just not fulfilling. Like
Hmm.
you're basically serving rich people, for a living. And it, I mean, day in and day out, I was working from like 8 in the morning to like sometimes 9 at night, or sometimes even the latest I've been there was like My job was like 10, 11. And yeah, man, it was tiring because during high season it's super crazy. Just like in brigade where I say you have to make decisions. Yeah, working at the job too, you have to make a lot of decisions on the spot, and hopefully you made the correct one, because if not, it can cost the company lots of money.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. But you studied to marine biology or just like regular biology, which is like all encompassing?
yeah, so I think how it kind of works is that you can take electives in school, but
Yeah.
like that are geared towards a certain field. So that's
Mm-hmm.
exactly what I did. I It's a general biology degree with a minor in
Okay.
chemistry, but definitely all the classes or majority of the classes I took were geared towards marine biology. But
Hmm.
you have to go through all the basic classes, right?
Yeah,
But then,
yeah.
once you start getting like junior year, senior year, you can start taking more specialized classes. And that's kind of what I did, because I already knew my track that I wanted to become a marine biologist.
Yeah.
So,
Did you
and
always like
fast forward to
love the
today.
ocean? Like was it just like always just like you had this fascination with the ocean and that specific ecosystem?
Yeah, me and Star grew up, and a lot of our friends, we grew up basically running in the yard or out in the water. I mean, we kind of didn't have, you know, anybody like over us. I guess they know we were responsible kids. So we kind of had a lot of
Hmm.
freedom on the weekends to like, go to the beach, or because they know we wasn't, trying to get into like bad stuff, I guess. But we had a lot of freedom. So we used to go diving and fishing a lot, or just stuff that I know for sure isn't done today. I mean, it's done in the brigade in the organization I work for, but it's not something I see, everybody's,
Yeah.
a different generation, different times. I understand. So, but yeah, it's definitely from growing up is where the influence came from for me to dive into, dive into marine biology.
Yeah, it's so interesting because you would think that an island where, you know, our land is like these, like, more limited than like our ocean territory, that we would have a lot more opportunity in the area of just like understanding our marine ecosystem, protecting our marine ecosystems,
You're right.
understanding like our relationship with the ecosystem and how our communities thrive off of the ocean. And how the ocean is like a huge part of our economy, and not even just that, like a part of our wellness, and how we like stay connected to the land. That hearing that you can't even find opportunities in that field on an island of all places just seems so like crazy, like it just doesn't make sense like why there would not be more opportunities in that area, because it's like if there's any place that would need people like that, it would be islands, that are literally like this is our bread and butter.
That's what I'm saying. But like again, the potential is there, but the infrastructure is not, and
I feel it.
it's hard to be that person to put in that initial work, because I mean it's just super difficult. Like I tell the kids in the program all the time, like because we have discussions during the mentorship program, which we also have um, in the grand scheme of things, and they talk about like yeah, if they get opportunity to leave St. Martin, they would leave, and they're not sure if they would come back because there's just no
Mm,
opportunities. And I try to tell them like yeah, there's no opportunities, but you can be the person to create opportunities for yourself and for other people, and in that way there's no market for it, so there's definitely a good chance for it to flourish and become something very popular, but you also paving the way for other people to come back to St. Martin, because then at the end of it you hear them that St. Martin doesn't have anything for me, or they come back and they're like yeah, St. Martin's still stuck behind. It's like okay, we are stuck behind, but if we don't have people to come back, we're going to continue with the same trend. So
yeah,
why
brain drain is a
complain?
legit struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's so
yeah.
interesting. I guess I'm curious, like having worked with the youth, is that their main concern? If just like they feel like the island does not care about them, or there's just not enough space for them to sort of just be who it is that they want to be, or even just like explore their passions.
Yeah, I mean it's a mix. Like some people like some people know what they want to do, others don't know what they want to do, and it could be for like the ones that do know what they want to do, that maybe their dreams are getting shot down because
Hmm.
it's not traditional. It's not like I feel like on St. Martin it's kind of, I mean, we all know it, we kind of close minded. But it's very, you get a house, you get a car, you have a family, and then that's, you live your life after that, and not necessarily to go away and have aspirations to study. Some people do have that, but I just feel like the majority of those don't have it. And because of that, you kind of limit other people as well, because when other people want to be, try to have dreams and aspirations, you kind of shoot them down and be like, yeah, that's not realistic. It's not realistic goals. I had the
Yeah.
same thing growing up. Like, people would be like, I was like, yeah, I'm going to go study biology. And it's like, yeah, but it's not realistic. Like, why would you want to become a biologist? And I mean, flip side is that now I'm working at youth work and not doing biology, but it isn't to say that somebody else couldn't have gone and came back and made the opportunity for themselves, right?
Yeah.
I was thinking about it, but I know it was like, it was definitely the hard way to go. And I think you need a lot of experience, or at least some serious ambition, but a lot of experience goes a long way with trying to create these
Yeah.
opportunities. So
It's hard to do something when it's just you, like when you're like the only one that has this experience or even has this like area of expertise. Like it's difficult to do it by yourself. Like everybody needs a team, you know what I mean? Like, and I notice no matter what field you're in, like you need a team of people that either have the same insight, same knowledge, similar skill sets. Otherwise, like it does become almost like this insurmountable challenge of like how do you build something that has never existed in a community that doesn't know how to value it and has no framework of understanding like why it even needs to exist. What yeah, what good would it do, if given we've survived all this time without it, can be
yeah,
definitely challenging.
yeah, because it's like, if there's two routes to take, one is safe and one is very treacherous. Most people are going to take the safe route, even though the treacherous route might have more reward at the end,
Yeah.
right? It's just a very long and bumpy road full of scars and bruises that you have to be willing to take a lot of prickle
I
bush on
feel
one,
it.
and then maybe not so much prickle bush on the other one. So
I feel it. I feel it. But I feel like the good thing about like our humanity is we have thick skin, like we can make it through them
oh
prickle bushes. Like you're tough enough to get through it. But I think like our minds often can talk us out of it, or like we start to doubt our ability or think like you're too weak to make it through, or like you just don't have
hmm
what it takes. But we're all capable. It's just like yeah, having that mindset to persevere when everybody's telling you like you don't have what it takes, like you shouldn't do it, like go the safe route, that's what everybody does, it's better that way, like who are you to rock the boat, take the path
yeah,
least walked, like why be different, when you can just fit into the pact. And I do agree, like on the island we do have that sort of community mindset that kind of disempowers people because they're like, well,
yeah.
why would you want to challenge things? Like, you could just enjoy the good island life that's nice and easy and slow. But I'm like, guys, we could be enjoying that and also be
Doing a
pushing
little
the
bit more.
boundaries, Just saying.
People not
Just
about it.
saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can have thick skin, but you need that support. Like, you need that support
Yeah.
system, because yeah, I noticed, like, I think we do quite good for those who go away
Hmm.
and have to persevere by themselves. Like, some people go up with like zero support. Like, I know, kids who've been through the program and who are now studying, and the stuff that they're doing, like, like they don't get they get limited funding from back home. They have to work at nights, go to school in the day. And I speak with them from time to time, and it's like they tell me like, yeah, it can get tough, right? And sometimes they just need people to talk to, just to reassure them that,
Exactly.
hey, we
You
we
got
see you,
this. Yeah.
we see what you're going through, and we appreciate, that you're going through this, right? So it's
Facts. Facts. Support is everything. Like honestly, like I can't imagine like I feel like it's like the value of being a part of something, having support cuz in this world it can be hard when you got to do things cuz it's like it's really there's like that whole like weight of being an individual and having to achieve. And I think when you're an immigrant as well, like people
hmm
aren't thinking thinking to in consideration like what how all of that adds to the struggle that you face and like the loneliness that you might feel when you're abroad. And I'm curious, like how was it for you when you left the island? Like did you have any difficulties like adjusting to the culture in the country that you went to study in, or was it like pretty easy to kind of just get into the swing of things and focus like on your degree? Because bio is not easy. Like them reader classes are no joke. So I'm curious, like how did you handle all of that?
I mean, initially I started off with environmental engineering, and then after,
Hmm.
but that was because it wasn't marine biology wasn't on a priority list, and I was like, damn it. But then I remember my
This
mom was
damn
like,
priority list, oh my
yo,
gosh.
crazy. My mom was like, she's like, did you check the priority list for this year? I was like, nah, but I'm about to do that right now. And then I saw it and I was like, whoa. So like immediately I was like, all right, I gotta get on the ball. I had to like write a letter, and you have to do, you have to contact study finance and do all this, blah 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 blah,
All
all
of
this
the
stuff.
bureaucracy, yes.
Yeah. So bureaucracy complete. I now transitioned over, and yeah, I mean like the first 2 years actually I did community college in Orlando,
That's
and
honestly
then
the way to
actually
go. That's the smart
yeah, it
move.
was
Community college is clutch, like so underrated.
yeah from the time like like what I when I got to like FSU and like the stuff I
Yeah.
heard people dealing with from like was the sophomore and freshman. I was like, oh,
Yes.
I didn't have to deal with those things. And I was
Saving
like glad,
yourself
like,
the grief.
yeah,
I feel it.
like like I think in college, I think in FSU it was like mandatory that you have to stay on a dorm for like the
Yeah.
first year at least. And I was like, wow. So if you get stuck with like a rough roommate, I mean you learn a lot of
Been
lessons,
there, done that. Yeah, no, it's
but
it's it's an
some of the
eye-opening
stories,
experience.
yeah, some of the stories I was hearing, I was like, oof, I glad, I didn't have to deal with those troubles. So, but
Honestly.
yeah, then I went over to FSU, and I think that's when like the struggles kind of start hitting because of Irma, right? That was 2017. I was in my going into my last year, I think.
Hmm.
That was I can't remember going into my last year. Yeah, that was a long time ago. And like now that I'm looking back, I had to do a presentation by LU. I sidetracking for a little bit, but I had to do a presentation by LU. And Mr. Fleming was like, "Yeah, this is one of our former students." And I was thinking back, like, "Yo, it's been 10 years since I've been back in the school. 10 years, like from graduating." I was like, "Wow." It was a very like just thinking about it. I was like, "Wow, I'm getting super old." Like the kids that were there probably were like in like kindergarten,
I feel you. It's like, wait, who are
like
these children?
like kindergarten now in like senior year.
I
I saw like
feel
some familiar
you.
faces, but it was
It's just
it was
like, how
very
are you so
surreal.
big already? Like, damn.
Yeah, yeah. It's so funny, right? Because when like growing up, you would have like parents or older persons, and they'd be like, "Oh my god, you grew up so fast." And then I find myself doing that now, and I'm like, ah,
You're like,
god,
oh, I see. Oh
oh
my
my
God.
goodness.
I
That's
am
when you know you're
them.
reaching. Yes, I am them. But yeah, okay, going back to FSU, right?
Yeah.
The most difficult time was Irma.
Hmm.
Um, I think too because in Orlando, I had my cousin, right? So we were rooming together for the entire time that I was there. So I still had that support, and we grew up together.
Yeah.
We grew up fine, so living together was not a problem. We did get a third roommate for like a period of time, and that didn't work out too well, to say the least.
Oh, yeah, I feel
But
you.
in in FSU in Tallahassee, we had to move, which is like 4 hours from Orlando, kind of 4 or 5 hours. I didn't have anybody really. I had people like from St. Martin that I knew, but I also didn't want to limit myself,
Hmm.
right? I wanted to kind of like expand and do different things, meet new people, have new experiences like in different activities, and that's how I got into sailing, which I did a little bit on St. Martin, but like I definitely got to like expand my knowledge like so much more in college.
Hmm.
So I was on a sailing team. I was on an engineering team because I mean I still
Awesome.
love I love like STEM in general, but
Yeah.
I don't know if your university had it, but it was a SAE program. So it was an automotive program, and
Hmm.
basically you create from scratch a CAD model of
Yeah.
like the mini Formula One cars,
Yeah.
right? And then you
Yeah.
compete against different schools.
Yeah.
So our college, which was actually the engineering campus, was like a joint FAMU and FSU college. They had well, not that program. They had a club, and I think I was like the only person that was like non-engineering in the club, and everybody was like, so I was like, yeah, I was like introducing myself, and I was like, yeah, I'm a bio major. It was like,
Like
uh,
what?
bio major,
They're like,
and I was
wait, do you
like,
even
yeah,
know how to use CAD, bro? They're
yeah,
like, oh my god,
exactly.
we're gonna lose.
Uh, Actually, and the funny thing is, I didn't even know how to use CAD. Right, I was more on the like the technical side because like I grew
Hmm.
up, like putting things together and
Yeah.
fixing stuff, and I was super into cars, especially like when I was in Orlando. So I had a lot of experience on that side, and not so much experience on CAD. So I had my strengths and
Yeah.
my weaknesses.
Yeah.
Right,
Let the
sometimes you need to
MEs
like,
handle that.
yeah,
Give
yeah.
them something to do.
Although they already got like so much projects going on already, it's like I don't know
Yeah.
how they find
Exactly.
time to like be in this club. It's crazy like the amount of workload that you see between different, how you say, fields.
Yeah.
It's
No, I
very
feel
it's
that.
oof, it's
I
it's
was
crazy.
so jealous of business majors. I was just like, I hate you guys. I literally loathe you just because you're having a life. And I'm like, what is a life in
Yeah,
engineering? I'm like, what is having fun?
it's not really to like, how you say, belittle them, but
Yeah.
you kind of have to find the balance, right? Like I think they try to just
Facts.
cram like everything and like, okay, this is a program, you have 4 years to do it if you want to look
Yeah.
good, so do it, right?
Yeah.
And it's not like,
Yeah.
okay, well, let's be realistic and be like, okay, maybe for an engineer they might take like 5 years, or
Yeah.
like stretch the course load a little bit more. Yes, it's a longer time, but you have a higher chance of people actually passing to get through to be
Succeeding
an
and like
engineer. Yeah, succeeding.
understanding what they're learning. I agree. I definitely think like the engineering programs are very tough. That is the point. You know what I mean? It's like they want to break you to make you strong. It's like that's their whole mentality of like especially at this school that I went to, University of Michigan, like the whole mantra was we're leaders in the best, and if you can't make it, then you're not meant to be here. And I agree, like a lot of students put this pressure on themselves of like, well, if they don't graduate in 4 years, if they don't land, a job at one of the big tech companies, that they're a failure. And that's literally like the messaging that the staff would share. Like, oh, like you shouldn't feel bad about yourself if Meta didn't hire you. Like it's okay. But it's just weird that like that's even the precedent that people are feeling. Like that's even just like the bar that people are measuring themselves to. I've had so many friends that like would be in tears because they just felt like they weren't good enough. But really, it was just the program. And like they cram out those 4 years, they're stressed out by the end of it. Maybe they get their job, maybe they don't. And then their whole like, they just completely doubt their skills and like are struggling with imposter syndrome. And it's just like, Like engineers are supposed to be super empowered, you know what I mean? They're supposed to feel like they understand what the hell they're doing, not quite, constantly doubting like, is my math right? Do I understand how to do
Yeah,
this Fourier transform? What the hell is a Fourier transform? How am I, like like you're asked like all these technical questions, draw this circuit, and you're like,
yeah,
it's really really tragic because then you get the degree, but it's like, do you really understand your degree, or you just have the paper because you hustled through it?
yeah. It's like that support system, but like a toxic support system.
Exactly, very
It's
toxic.
like
Oh, so
it's
toxic.
funny. It sounds like how you explain it almost sounds like the military, but
Exactly.
you're not building leaders.
Yeah,
It's kind of
exactly. It's
strange.
it's very weird. And then they go to work and it's kind of, you just fall into a hierarchy, and it's just like, I don't know, all of these weird things I pick up on that I'm just like, "Mm, I don't know about that." And it's funny because like when people meet me, they'll be like, "You're an engineer," and I'm like, "Yeah," and they're like, "Well, you're not like any engineer I met," and I'm like, Good, like, thank you for that. That's a
Yeah.
compliment. Like, I do not want to be like these people. Like, because it's just like you can tell, like a lot of people are just very stressed out, or like they're very socially
Mm.
awkward. Like I remember my graduating year, I was forced to take this class, Michelle, where it literally was like how to make electrical engineers socially aware to just not be weird out of school. Like it was like we were like the only degree that had to take this. It was mandatory, and it was just like how to not commit sexual harassment at work. I'm like, first of all, what? Like I'm just so confused right now. Or like just how to not be weird, and I'm just like,
Uh,
why am I in this class? Like I'm just like, I don't understand. This is a red flag. This is hella sus, but I guess I'll take it because I have no choice. But it was just so weird to me that like this was sort of
part of
the
the
stereotype that we
yeah.
had. Yeah, it's very weird. And like even when I tell people my degree, they're like, "Really? You did that?" I'm like, "What? Why are you surprised?" I'm like, "This it's just a degree. Like, yes, it's a lot of math, but it's not impossible. Like, it's doable. It's a doable achievement. It's just
Stere-
stressful."
stereotypes, man. They can really how do you say? It's like I kind of relate it to like a page on like a like a book cover. Like you like the maybe you
Hmm.
have like a very catching book cover, or maybe it's not a catching book cover, but then like you actually read the book and you're like, oh, it's not really what like the book cover means. It's like
Facts.
completely different. So there's people who just read the front page. Yeah. But yeah, I was on an engineering. Man, we going on a
Exactly.
tangent.
Yeah.
I see what I see what you mean now. I understand what you mean. Um,
It happens. Combo be too good,
yeah. Where were we? Engineering,
Uh,
engineering team,
yeah,
engineering
yeah. I
club.
guess just like adjusting, all that
Yeah,
jazz, or
the Justin. So I mean, like I had. Oh yeah, so I was on the engineering team, sailing team. I was
yeah,
playing ultimate frisbee. Man, I honestly don't know how I was finding the time to do all the activities I did. I so serious, and like with school and still going out. I wasn't going out that much, but like I still like I would occasionally go out with
a
friends.
social life, exactly.
No, not so much. Now most of the time I be honest, I most of the time I'm like home with my dogs. I go take them for a walk or a hike up the hill, or like yeah man, or like we go camping. Like we recently went camping. Like I went camping with Star and Akeem. I think like over the Easter break.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was super relaxing. We hiked to like a remote beach on a friend's side. It was
Hmm.
yeah man, it's very blissful. You need more.
Yeah,
You would be it's crazy, but you wouldn't expect the amount of peace and tranquility that you can get from just going camping and like just catching like a rebreather and then
Nature is
yo
healing. Oh my gosh.
recharging the battery. Like the week after, I was like on the ball. I was trying to do everything. So um, tangent
I
again.
feel that. No, I mean, I think that's just so cool. Like I definitely appreciate people that embrace the island and the gifts that we have because I think like even just hearing that like you went to a remote beach and camped there, like that's not I feel like a very common experience for people that call themselves St. Martiners,
Yeah,
even if they've been there their whole life. You know, like camping is just not even something that I've seen be a part of like our culture or norm. The only time I ever camped was like through Cub Scouts, which I loved. I absolutely loved to do. And I don't know, like I think it's such an incredible experience to be able to really just disconnect and to like go back to such a very like more primitive way of living because it gives you like so much to be grateful for because like sleeping one night on the ground, you're like, "Oh my god,
yeah,
beds, pillows, blankets, like the
yo,
basic shit." You're like, "Oh my god, like what is life without a
yeah,
shower?" Like, "Oh my gosh, this is so good. Warm water. Ugh,
yeah,
happiness in like a moment." And you would think like because we're so close to nature, we'd have like such a better relationship with our environment and like the places that we have on the island to explore, but it's just like not a part of our culture, which is like mind blowing. So it's so incredible when I see like you guys are like making the effort to go out there and do it for your own mental health and for your own wellness because you're like leading by example. Like it's just so great to see because I'm like, note to self, find this remote beach.
yeah. And it's kind of like what we do in the program too. And I also feel like like I'm living through their experiences. Like I'm there with them, but it's like, man,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, what if I got to do this when I was younger? You know, it would be a big change.
Yeah.
It's funny when you talk about like the
Yeah.
my back and that we posted like we pitched a tent on the sand. So I was like, all right,
Mhm.
it's not that bad. It can't be that bad.
Yeah.
And
Can't
it was
be.
like three of us in a tent, and then all of the whole night it was like, ugh. You hear people tossing and turning, and and then we wake up. It was like, all right, so we need a foam pad for the next one. Check,
Note to self.
because my goodness,
Yeah, no, I think that's so awesome. I agree. Like, I feel like when you're in those situations, you also just recognize like if there's like misalignment in the body, you know, like maybe your back is like actually tense. So it's like when you're laying on a
yeah,
flat surface, which is probably good for your
yep,
back, it's like really uncomfortable. It doesn't feel natural. It doesn't feel good. And then you have hips, so it's like as you're rotating, it's like your hip is hitting a root in the ground and you're just like FML, I cannot. But then I also, I don't know, I sometimes feel like I get some of the best sleep in nature, especially like if it's raining while I'm
oh,
camping. Oh my gosh. The sleep that I get is like
well,
it's like I feel
if
reborn.
it's raining and you're camping and you actually heed the information to close the rain cover, then yes. If you did like us, we were like, because I mean
Don't.
it was three of us in a tent, and we had, like, you have the flaps that you can like open up and
Yeah.
zip down and zip up.
Yeah.
So Akeem was like, should we like zip it up? And we were like, eh, we'll be fine.
Let the breeze
Yeah,
come
let the
in.
breeze come in. If it starts to rain, then we could zip it up quick. Yo,
Exactly.
the rain started falling, and one of the zippers we couldn't get untight. So
Oh,
yeah,
tragic.
we let's just say we're not making a mistake again. So
Yeah. Hey, life lessons, right? Like you gotta learn, right? It's experience.
yeah, so that's
But that's so
yeah,
awesome.
we learned a lot. It was pretty good though. But yeah, the kids, man, they learn so much. Like not only like like the camping and stuff, but like the leadership that they learn just from what I like to call OJT. Yeah, OJT leadership. It's like
Hmm.
on the job leadership. So it's kind of you learn through experiences, and I think that's the most. difficult to learn from, because you kind of have
Yeah.
to go through a lot of trials and errors. And
Ish.
but
Exactly.
at the end, I think it's very rewarding, and you kind of have your own style to leadership, that works for you, right? Not everybody is going to lead the same way. I mean, we want to get the same results, right?
Yeah.
But we're not all going to have the same leadership style, and that's good. That's actually a good thing. But yeah,
Yeah, diversity, like literally in everything is
yeah,
phenomenal.
man.
But I'm curious, like, is the youth brigade, because I was always like unsure, is it like a military esque program, or
Esque.
is it just more of like, you know, because I also don't know like if girls join the youth brigade or is it only for boys, or like how does it work? Because I've always seen them, doing their thing, but I never really knew what the program was like all about, or
Yeah.
what are kids gaining from being a part of this program as opposed to like maybe doing like Cub Scouts or something different. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Can you elaborate a bit on just like what is the program? Like what is the youth brigade?
All right. So taking it back to the book cover, I'll give you the I'll
Okay.
give you the book cover, and then we'll open the book. All
Okay.
right. So the book cover is
Cool.
a military program for kids who have problems that need discipline, who are boys.
Okay. Okay.
Now we're going in the book. The program
Okay.
is a youth paramilitary program that is for both boys and females between the ages of 12 and 21. Right. And
Okay.
let's that's like the introduction.
Hmm.
And yeah, there's the amount of, and I say paramilitary like quotation marks, because the structure of the organization is paramilitary. However, like the things that we do in the organization is way more than just paramilitary, right? I think it's like maybe
Hmm.
like 50%, 40 to 50% is like military. The rest of it, so they have like, we have a drum band, they get swimming lessons, they have Spanish class, they have the mentorship program, they have the camps which they do, which aren't always military, because there's like an etiquette camp where they learn how to properly eat with like, fork and knife, how to iron your clothes, how to sew, especially they have sometimes, the uniform that they wear with the stuff that they do for like the
Yeah.
training, they get a lot of tears or holes, and they have to learn how to sew, so it's like practical use. It's not like, we're teaching these things for like
Yeah.
teaching them sake.
Real life
Yeah, real
skills,
life skills. And the same thing with the mentorship program. It's like we will cover topics that aren't covered in school, which we think are
Hmm.
stuff that we've definitely been through, because most of us who are mentors, or well, I'm not a mentor because I work for the organization, but like the mentors, so like Star is a mentor actually, um Sahar is a mentor, and we have a couple other mentors, but they try to teach them skills that they wish they had, especially at that part or that
Hmm.
point in their life, and try to
Yeah.
break the barrier and cover topics like mental health or xenophobia, homophobia, you know, all the signs and symptoms, and how we can become aware and what we can do to change things, right? Not just on St. Martin, but maybe in
Hmm.
their homes or in different areas, maybe their friends group. But like even etiquette camp, it's not only about like the how they portray themselves like in real person, but it's also how they portray themselves on social media, right? The things that you post,
Hmm.
and how that has a effect and influence on how people think about you, even though that might not be how you actually are. Because sometimes I see them post things and I'm like, this person is not like this, right? But if you don't know the person and all you see is their online social media, it's like, okay, that's what
You
you
create
know.
an image of who you think they are. Yeah, exactly.
Just like influencers who create like a perfect image, but they're not perfect. But it's vice versa, right? They create a bad
Not
image.
even close.
So
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, so that's part of it. We do a lot of social impact or social change projects. So like volunteering to like clean up different communities, but also educate people about cleaning
Hmm.
and the plastic pollution and how to recycle, even though we don't have such a good recycling system. You know, I mean, it's something we
Facts.
have to work on. So maybe one of them may,
You
you never
know,
know, one of them may take up the challenge to,
feel inspired.
yeah, feel inspired to
Yeah.
do that. But man, like the questions that they ask, even at like the discussions when they have like the plastic pollution, some of the like the presenters are like, ooh, not sure I'm gonna answer this
It's a
question,
hard
buddy. It's a
one.
hard question. So you can see like they've,
It's like shots
yeah,
fired.
man, you can see that they're super engaged, and the questions are more related to
Yeah.
like how can we implement this on St. Martin, and they're like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like, okay, we have the dump, but like why aren't we moving towards more sustainable options? And you
Exactly.
kind of have to give them the runaround because you yourself don't have the answer, right? And it's almost like a letdown, but
Yeah.
it's, you have to
I
give
get
them
that.
the reality of the situation. But yeah, we have sports days. So the last year, we is it last year? Yeah, I think it was last year that we created gift baskets for like Mother's Day, and then we went out to different communities, and
Aw.
we had the members go in to give gift baskets. Ooh, messing up on my words, to single moms out in the community. We have
Aw.
a bike team. I mean, it's currently inactive, but it's something we're looking to start back up because we had it in the past. So, like the bike team, for instance, would assist during activities or events where roadside assistance is needed to keep people off the road. Right. So,
Mm.
Red Cross had a project called the Regreening Project, which was, I believe it was last year or the year before, maybe the year before, where they would do cleanups in the different communities. And the one of the issues is that you have all these bags that you have piled up with trash that you need to try to get to a location. So the youth brigade members would assist with getting, like, distributing new bags. So they would have like a roll of like bags in their pocket for them to use to collect more trash. And then once the bag was full, they would mark it and then let us know, like, hey, this bag is full at this location. So they were doing a lot of logistics and making sure that everything was running smoothly. So these are just some of the things that they learn how to do, and they have to work as a group.
That sounds so fun.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, honestly, I'm like, this sounds like a vibe. I'm just like, this sounds just like fun projects. Oh my gosh. That is so
yeah,
amazing. That's just incredible. Like that really touches my heart just to hear like all the things that they're doing. Because I think like even just giving gift baskets to single moms, like just having that sort of awareness of the struggles that single moms have to go through and having, empathy and compassion. These are things that I think just like help make you a better human being. It allows you to sort of see things for as they are and allows you to just have more empathy and compassion for the people around you that you don't really know a lot of the time like what they're going through
yeah.
or like the struggles that they might have, but you can do something so small that makes their lives better, makes their day better, just like allows them to feel like they're supported.
Or even like the kids in the program too,
It's so important.
is the same thing. Like,
Yeah.
they you don't like they have struggles that they're going through at home, right? And
Yeah.
sometimes other it's a lot of empathy that you have to learn, right? And not only for us, but like for the members who have to work with each other, because if you
Yeah.
can't see eye to eye, it's very difficult, for to get to the goal, right? Because they all have the same
Yeah.
goal, but they all have different ways of getting to the goal, and that's where the conflict is. So it's like, okay, how can I compromise here, and how can you also compromise so we can meet halfway, or meet in order for
Yeah.
us just to get to the goal, right? Because you always have to keep in mind, like, we're here for the same thing. Like, regardless if we have different
Yeah.
ways of doing it, there's it doesn't make any sense that we're trying to do it separately. I mean, because one, they can't
Exactly.
really do it separately because all the activities require a team effort. So
Exactly.
it's almost impossible to do. Like, I think people who are like try to go through the program solo, they don't make it far. They either quit or they
Hmm.
learn how to become a team player. Because, yeah, is
Hmm.
the again, we go back to like that support system. So
Exactly.
even in the
Honestly,
program.
I was just thinking about it and I was like, this is something that I think every person could benefit from because life is about being a part of a team. And I think
Hmm.
like for a lot of people, or especially like people in like STEM fields, like it's a very like isolated, individualistic, like I don't need anybody. I can just do it by myself. But in reality, like no matter what you do in life, like it's always going to be about working on a team, working with people that you don't like, working with people that stories are completely different from yours. And what can you do to not only adapt but also just like have empathy and compassion to be able to work through the obstacles to achieve the goal. And I feel like that's pretty much what you're teaching them. It's like how can you adapt to your environment, understand what your resources are, understand what like the different skill sets of your team are, and maximize that to achieve the goal, and doing it in a way that's like efficient and respectful,
Yeah.
of everybody involved and what their ability is. Because like you said, like you may, like you maybe weren't good at CAD, but you had other skills that help make your sports car team very successful.
Yeah.
And it's like if we constantly like belittle ourselves for like the things that we're weak in,
Hmm.
it stops us from like opening ourselves to get help in the areas where we're weak in, and actually like just focus on our strengths instead of like, well, I should be able to do everything
Yeah.
because I'm a strong person and blah 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 blah, and it's like you don't need, like, who are we kidding? There's no way you're gonna be able to do everything ever. It's okay. I think it makes you stronger to be able to lean on a team and to be able to work with people. And yeah, this is like this could be scaled. I'm like, I think
Yeah.
more people, more adults in St. Martin could benefit from being a part of the brigade and
Yo.
like having to go through those conflict resolution situations if you're like in the middle of a hike and you're like, I don't want to carry this
Yep.
backpack anymore, but you got to
Yeah.
because like the squad's food is in there,
Yeah.
you know?
And I think I also like it was a big learning process for me too, because like you said, in STEM is very individualistic approach to everything, and it's not really team oriented. And I also was I felt when I was studying, or like in those years, I was also very selfish, because it's like,
Yeah.
what can I achieve within my lifetime? Right now, with doing youth work, it's like, what can I help other people achieve and help myself achieve, right, in my lifetime? And moving, man, we even strayed so far that I didn't even get to talk about how I begin to like, how did I even get in a position? But yeah, it was like super challenging. I basically had zero leadership experience, because I mean, I
Hmm.
had experience working in a team, but there's a difference between when you work in a team not as a, as just like a, a lower rank, I guess you can say, or somebody that doesn't have
A
much
contributor,
yeah, a
you're contributing.
yes, yeah, a contributor, and versus actually, making the decisions. And the amount of learning I had to do, like I learned more in working in the organization in 2 years than I did my 5 years away. It's Yeah,
Wow.
I feel like, yeah, it's crazy. But I'm still learning every day, and I am
Yeah.
grateful for being able to go away, because I don't think I would have been, or had such an open mind um,
Yeah.
about learning, and it's okay to not know things. And I think if I was still on St. Martin, I wouldn't have that. And that's like one of the
The
qualities, the
awareness, the
awareness.
perspective.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it wouldn't. Yeah, it wouldn't. I don't know. Just I'm very grateful for it. So it has taught me a lot.
Yeah, I bet. Because I was just gonna say, like, growth is not linear. I
No.
think, like, when you're like in that engineering mindset, everything is like oversimplified, right? You remove the complexities, right? You want that linear, like everything is moving in like a very nice progressive fashion. But it's like when you realize like the truth, it's like you could grow tremendously in like a short period of time having an experience that you didn't think was going to make you grow, but it like forces you to see so much of yourself that you're like, holy shit, it's only been 6 months and I feel like I'm a completely different person than I was 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And it's interesting when you find those experiences that allow you to sort of like tap into yourself and like discover parts of yourself, discover things that bring you joy, and I think it's so beautiful to see that like through this youth work, you found things that allow you to not only like be of service, but it's in an environment that you love and you thrive in, which is like nature, and like leveraging the tools of nature to help inspire people and to help show them how strong they are, which I think you can only do when you like work on yourself, and you work on like figuring out like who you want to be. And like I remember like you were saying like you don't have it all figured out, but I think like that's kind of the point. It's kind of like kind of being lost, but you're not really lost,
Yeah.
because then it just leaves you open to experience whatever comes your way. And that, manifest is like going camping
Yeah.
on a remote beach for Easter and just like having a blast and not being so like, well, my life has to look like this and I need to have this to be successful. Otherwise, I'm not shit. And it's all about my goals, my accomplishments, what I do. But you can have so much more impact when you like surrender all of these obligations and you just see like what you can do in a day to day to just make somebody's life a little bit better, and like how far that goes for like the collective.
Not so easy with the pressures of society.
Not at all.
No.
But I mean, you're obviously not weak hearted, so like I think the universe knew exactly what it was doing. It's like, we're gonna give him a challenge, we know he can deal with it.
I almost felt like guilty that I was enjoying the work I was doing so much because
Oh my gosh.
I was like, look,
That's so funny.
like I had plans to, to go this direction, and then I'm like, what am I
Yeah.
doing? This is not on the schedule. So yeah, it
That's your
was.
ego. It's like a part of your ego. It's just like,
Yo,
bro, we're supposed to be a millionaire. What are you
like,
doing? This is not.
you studied 5 years and
Yeah.
now you're doing youth work. What are you doing? And when it like I had a that was like a struggle I had for like the past two
Yeah.
years, and I recently went to a workshop. So I don't know if you know about Erasmus Plus. No,
No, I
but I
don't.
don't think it'll be too long to go into. But
No, it's
it's
okay.
also
Go
something
ahead. Elaborate.
it's also something that we do in the organization, or we recently started doing as of
Okay.
last year. And it's basically these experiences where you can go to different countries and learn about different
Hmm.
topics. Um, but they're super eye-opening experiences, especially for anyone between the ages of, I think, 13 to 30 can do an Erasmus or can join an Erasmus Plus youth exchange. However, there are limitations depending on who is hosting, on the age range that they want to provide or cater to, because you can't expect
Hmm.
to teach a 13-year-old a 30-year-old. um,
Yeah. Yeah.
so there's that difference. But anyways, I went on a workshop, and this was more for learning. It was actually more for networking with different youth organizations, and we were in Aruba, and I was explaining to, like, one of them about, like, they were asking me, like, what I do and where I want to go, and I'm like, yo, right now I'm in that spot, like, I do not know, because I studied this, but now I want to do this. And she was like, do you think any of us here wanted to be in youth work? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, nope. So like when I asked everyone what they studied compared to like what they do now, it was like on two ends of the spectrum. So it gave me a little bit more, not maybe not confidence, but a little bit more breathing room to be like, okay, like, you're not the only
Yeah.
person that.
Like you're not a fuck up. Like you didn't
Yeah, yeah,
fail.
exactly. So there was that,
Yeah.
and that was more. It kind of put my mind more at ease. Like, it's not
Yeah.
like I do not love biology and marine biology, because I still love it, but I just realized
You
so
don't feel like
much.
you're fighting a part of yourself, like you gave up on something that you really felt called to, or
Yeah,
like you're not fulfilling your dreams, because dreams change,
yeah,
and I think it takes a lot of bravery. Honestly, I think it takes more bravery to know that you need to put a pause on something, or that you need to walk away from something that you love to
yeah,
discover another part of yourself. Because I struggle with that. I think like, okay, if I left engineering, what would I do? Or
yeah,
like what would I want to do with my life? And I have the same thing. I'm like, I don't know. Like I literally don't know what I would do. Like this has been my dream for a long time. I don't like I just it's like hard to just think about anything else. But I think like it takes so much bravery and just like compassion for yourself to be able to be like, yeah, we did this thing. Like we you went the 5 years, you studied something
Yeah,
you absolutely loved, and now you've discovered something that you love as well. And like it doesn't have to be like that you lost biology. It's just like taking the things that you learned in biology, taking the methodology, the insight, the perspective, and using that to just be another toolkit
yeah,
to help you in this new thing that you love, which is fabulous. Like that's so great to see. Because I think people, yeah, they get really hard on themselves. Like, well, I chose this, so I have to stay in this box. You know, like I can't go be something else. And I'm like, fuck that. Like, honestly, life is about discovery. Like, it's okay if you were passionate about one thing last year and you're completely passionate about something else this year. Like, we're having fun, you know? Like, there is no right or wrong on like how we're supposed to live our life. But I feel like because we're in this society, we almost like it's like a compulsion that we feel of
yeah.
like, oh, I'm not fitting in. Oh, like this is so uncomfortable. And it's like, well, you were never meant to fit in. So like
It's the label though, you know. It's the label that we give ourselves, and like it's like, oh, like once you
exactly.
have that label, it's hard to like rub off, right? Everyone's gonna see, or everyone's gonna be
It's like
like,
I'm a
yeah,
biologist.
I can no longer
I have to
be,
do what biologists
yeah,
do.
for the rest of my life. And it's because I used to see, it's like also like when you see, when I was in college and I would see like 50-year-olds coming to college to study. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? But now I'm like, bro, that is a smart move, right?
Exactly, right?
So,
Like we're always children in our heart, I think. It's just we get hard on ourselves and we beat ourselves up and we have expectations. Oh my god.
bro.
Expectations are the root of all of our suffering. Well, at least a
At
lot of
least
it.
I was gonna say
Not all of
not
it,
all of
but a
it,
good part.
but definitely a lot. Like
A solid percentage.
it tears you down a lot, especially if you don't meet them. I mean, like if you meet them,
Exactly.
kudos. But if you don't, then you just have to, keep it pushing, but don't let it tear you down.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, we have
Yeah,
that,
yeah, exactly.
especially, people telling you like growing up, it's like, okay, like you're not gonna be able to do anything with it. And then it's like now, like, wow, maybe you were right. But
I wouldn't say
no,
that.
no, no.
I'm still not of the belief that they were right. I think like ultimately this was a part of your soul that needs to be fed. I feel you. I feel you. Yeah,
Yeah,
the doubt.
the doubt. You still.
For
I'm
sure.
not saying that I didn't, because I realized, like you said, I have a lot of the information that I learned in college. I apply in my everyday
Mhm.
use. Right. I definitely wouldn't be able to have been
Yeah.
in this position if I didn't go through college. That's 100% for sure.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't have been able to do half the stuff I did, because I mean, in college you have to write a lot of papers. For my job, I have to write a lot of grants. Uh,
Yeah.
man, there's definitely a lot of overlap, just not the specialized stuff, not the fun stuff. It's a lot of the
I feel it.
the
I feel
basic
it.
skills. But life is
Yeah.
uh life is strange, man. Life is strange. But it's a good accident that happened. It happened around
Yeah.
Irma. So after the BWA, sorry, the yachting agency job, my contract
Yeah.
was supposed to be renewed, but because of not Irma, COVID, man, so many
Yeah.
so many big incidents.
Lots of little disasters,
Yeah,
you know.
COVID. I'm talking about COVID. So during right before, no, not I think like 2 months into COVID, my contract ended, and they were like, "Yo, we would love to have you on the team again, but because of how they predict things are
Rona.
gonna go with the Rona, they're gonna have to let me
Yeah.
go. And then if it gets
Ease
back,
off. Yeah.
once the season gets back going and the economy starts getting back to what it was, then they will
I
rehire
feel
me
it.
for
I feel
sure.
it.
And in between that time, the previous project leader was actually leaving Saint Martin, to go
Hmm.
to the Netherlands with her family, and she actually called my mom because actually my mom is a founder of the brigade. So let me just make that clear.
Oh wow.
And
Zuleika out here
yeah,
doing big
doing
things.
too much, taking pictures, trying to. She's part of the brigade, and she's doing too much. She's doing a little too
Your mom
much.
is awesome though.
Yeah, yeah.
I love her so much. Oh my god, she's so amazing.
Yes, she. I don't know how she gets it all done, but somehow it works. And she went to her and was like, "Hey, do you think Michelle would be interested in taking over the position?" And she was like, he's a grown man. You can go and ask him." Because it's also like a conflict of interest if the founder, asked me to work for the
Yeah,
organization. I'm her son, so and
yeah,
my mom is not a person to go and be like, "Hey, I need you to work in this position because I don't have anyone to fill
yeah,
it." And she's like, "No, like do what you want to do." Like even when I brought it to her attention, like because she was asking me, "Am I still going away to like get my masters and stuff?" And I was like, "I don't know." I keep putting it off, and I'm like, "Yeah, yeah." I keep telling her, "Yeah, yeah," and I'm like, "Man, I'm at this point where I'm not sure." Right? And
I
she was
feel
like,
it.
"It's
I feel it.
okay to not be sure." And that was also,
Yeah,
for me, it was like hard to bring it up to even talk about it, to her because,
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Cause this mom, I feel
yeah.
it. I feel it.
And yeah, so the previous project leader, she then contacted me, and she was like, "I think you'll be a good fit for the position." And it was actually, I was like, "Yeah, I can." I said, "Hey, I love a challenge, so let's get it." And it was actually supposed to be like temporary, and I guess temporary is like going on 3 years. So, but yeah, my other job did call me back, but I do, so on my off time I do work for them, in the like super super busy season.
hmm
But yeah,
Yeah,
man, I love the work I'm doing now. It's super rewarding, helping people. Like it changed my perspective about like literally
yeah.
everything that
It's
what I want to do.
amazing. That is so amazing.
It's
Well, I
crazy.
appreciate you sharing your story and journey today with, with me and the listeners. Like, I just think like a lot of people can totally relate to just, just the struggle of figuring things out and like finding what speaks to you, because I think like there's so many things that call us and there's so many things that we think we have to do. But I think like ultimately we just have to follow like our heart, I think like we know when we're in the right place, like we know cuz like we feel
Yeah,
it,
you.
like you just feel good. You feel like you're a part of something. Like there's just this like joy that manifests when you know you're doing the right thing. And I think like sometimes that's all we need. I think like especially when you're in STEM, you have like this trait of being an overthinker, over
Mm,
analyzing things, like making it more complicated than it needs to
yeah.
be. But when you like relinquish that and you're kind of like, let me just go with how I feel, makes life so much easier. It's less complicated because it's so obvious. But like when you
Yeah.
think, you're like, well, I don't
Yeah.
know, maybe, but
But
mm, I don't know. Questions like, but your gut is like, but your gut is like,
yeah.
you know how you're feeling. Why are you questioning? Why are you doubting? Just listen. Just like, ugh. But no, I appreciate it.
I feel like we didn't even get to talk about like half the things that were. I was like, we're gonna get through this. We're gonna these topics are gonna go quick. But I see
It's never that easy, There's too many goodness, too many gems. But you know what that tells me, Michelle?
that
All
you
it
need to
says
make
is you
your.
just have to come
Oh,
back.
I was gonna say, oh, you have to make your podcast like 4 hours long, like Joe Rogan.